Here we go.
Metal Gear Solid Delta is not the first remake of Metal Gear Solid 3. In the decades,
they so Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3 both had an HD update. Funny enough, they actually have had Metal Gear Solid. Actually, they all have. So Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3 both had a update to 3 times. Because they redid them twice. One was with the fixed camera, which was the original. One was with the updated camera. The second one was... Actually, no. Dude, they've been updated quite a bit because they did it for the PlayStation 3. I think they skipped the PlayStation 4 and went to the PlayStation 5. They've updated... They've redone these games quite a bit.
Since Metal Gear Solid 3 first Halo dropped into our hearts, Konami has reissued, remastered, and remade Hideo Kojima's tactical espionage opus more than...
What the fuck is that? What is that?
Reissued, remastered, and remade...
What is this? Is that on... Can you play this game on your cell phone? Metal Gear Solid 3 for cell phone. Oh, you can't natively play it. I feel like...
Hideo Kojima's tactical espionage opus more than a few times, adding to, subtracting from, and significantly changing...
That's such a satisfying feeling whenever you see that dart stick into the side of their head, dude. It's so
Snake's
fun.
adventure in the non-existent jungle.
Oh yeah, you could get the crocodile helmet, and if you get the crocodile helmet, you can equip a certain type of camo. I think it's the log one, or the tree bark. And then you can act like an alligator, and if you can lay flat, and if an enemy sees you, it's going to shoot you.
Of the Soviet Union. You can dig up the raw PS2 original that hit 2004 like a tactical nuke, or feast on the more refined and rounded subsistence. You can enjoy it on the go, or accept some sacrifice.
I always thought it was called substance. It's subsistence? Man, I need to learn how to read back then.
This is to play it on the newest tech. And if none of those get you charged up, perhaps Delta...
So that's what's fun about wearing the Soviet Union garb that you get from...
Play it on the new...
When you get the Soviet Union garb for knocking out Colonel Volgin, and you look at an enemy, they won't shoot at you. They won't shoot at you unless your back is turned.
Tech, and if none of those get you
if you're not wearing this when you do this sequence right here, you're not doing it right.
Charged up, perhaps Delta will deliver the snake eater of your dreams. There are plenty of ways to enjoy one of the greatest games ever made, but what's the correct way to experience MGS3? Is authenticity the aim, or even
what's crazy?
There are plenty
is that it
of
took
ways
me
to
like
enjoy
50
one of the
playthroughs.
greatest games ever made, but what's the correct way?
Before I realized that you can dress up as, so you get Raiden's mask at like the beginning of the game. Raiden was in Metal Gear Solid 2, but in this one they call him something else. But this is Raiden. I mean, I think it's a little Easter egg, but not really. You get his face mask, and you can put this uniform on, and you can put the mask on, and you can go into the first facility with minimal, like, you really the only guys that will know that it's not real are the scientists.
To experience MGS3, is authenticity the aim, or even achievable? Are we willing to lose some of its original truth in the name of enjoyability and accessibility? In short, what's the real Metal Gear Solid 3?
Whatever you want it to be, it's an experience.
Your mission, Jack, is to infiltrate the various versions of this virtual
3D Snake Eater. So I played this one. I actually had this exact copy of it. Came with this thick ass manual in it. I've played this one. I own this one. These two got stolen from me whenever I lived in a house. Whenever I was going through high school, the house got broken into and they took all my fucking games, dude. And I actually still own this one. Funny enough, we could play Peace Walker, but that piece of shit fucking splitter that I have, or that, it's not a splitter, it's called something else. It won't work for my PlayStation 3. I think I have to get it back out and try to mess around with it and see if I can't get it to work.
Masterpiece and explore the changes it's accumulated throughout the years, for better and for worse, beginning with Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater.
That's right.
Try to remember some of the basics of life in 2004. You're wearing your Vote for Pedro shirt, rocking a Livestrong bracelet, and T9 texting your MySpace top 8 on the brand new
Bro, you guys remember the Razors? My mom had one of these stupid ass phones.
Moto Razr.
I don't know why so many people want these Razors to come back. They were so clunky. Well, they weren't clunky, but they were just weird. I felt like whenever I opened it up, I was going to break it.
Spider-Man 2 is at the movie theater, on your iPod mini, and inside your 6th generation console.
That's right, man. PlayStation 2 was king.
Other games vying for your attention in this absolutely stacked year include a squad of S-tier sequels like Half-Life 2, Halo 2, and GTA San Andreas. MGS 3 hangs with them all. Etched on this.
You know what's insane to me? It's sad that they used to make bangers. It was banger after banger after banger of game. Game after, like, good game, good game, good game, good game, good game, good game. And then now, like 20 years later, they're having to remake games because they can't make any good ones anymore. They just can't do it. It's not possible for them. It's sad.
PS2 exclusive disc is an all-time classic. Hot on the heels of the mind-shattering Metal.
I can't tell you how many times I had to take out the toothpaste and sit there and try to fix a fucking a disc. Can't tell you.
2, Snake Eater is the platonic.
This is gonna be a long-ass video.
Ideal of a prequel, an approachable action epic with excellent voice acting and intricate, quirky game systems.
Because that was the thing back then. Like, so whenever you got a game, when you got a PlayStation game, when you got a PlayStation 1 game, you had to put your, like, you didn't have this universal system of playing a first, like for example, Call of Duty. When you pick up one Call of Duty, you can play them all. But back then, if you picked up, for example, whenever I first started playing Metal Gear Solid 3, because that's where I started, I had a neighbor that bought that for me. He got me Metal Gear Solid 3, right? And every other game menu, you had to press X to access the menu features. And Metal Gear Solid 3, I think it was circle, which was back. It was back for every other menu I ever played on. If you press circle, you would go back out of the menu. But if you pressed X, you would go into the menu. For this game, it was circle. You had to learn the game's quirks. When you picked up a game for the first time, you had to learn its quirks. You had to. You had to learn its style of gameplay. You had to learn its story. You had to play the game on its field. And you don't get that anymore. It's a whole different ballgame of playing games now. I'd imagine a lot of older people that watch this, they're going to think back and they're going to be like, you know, he's right. Like when you picked up a Mortal Kombat game, every combos in it was different. It was never the same. The way the main story played out, it was always different. It was never the same. You could pick up a game in the same franchise, but it would be played completely different. And I think that's what a lot of games don't do nowadays, is instead of forcing you to go onto their battlefield, we're forcing them to come onto ours. Which is fine as long as it's a good game.
Pretty good.
It's the perfect on-ramp to the Kojima experience, and it easily deserves our contemporary score of 9.6. But the game is about all you get.
That's right. You were limited to buttons and controllers and how to use them. You were. You weren't able to open up a tab and look up an entire Let's Play on YouTube. Like, that wasn't an option. You didn't get a guide. You had to open the fucking paper manual. And I remember that's how I learned how to play Metal Gear Solid 3. I was like, how do you get past this menu? And I flipped through it and I was like, oh, circle is technically X. And then I got in and I started playing. I fell in love with the game.
The first release of Snake Eater had no VR missions, no multiplayer, and no bonus features beyond Snake vs. Monkey, a charming hide-and-seek minigame starring the titular...
That's right. So whenever you join, like Snake vs. Monkey is you're supposed to get in and they give you you get this gun called the, the EZ gun. It's EZ-gun, right? And it's this is what it looks like. And it's a yellow one as opposed to the black one The black one you use in the main story, it has infinite ammo. So if you play in the easiest difficulty, you can use this gun. So this gun, it gives you a camo index, I think, of 80. So when you have this gun equipped, you can hardly be seen. And it's a trank gun, and no matter where you shoot the enemy at, it automatically puts them to sleep. So it's for the easiest difficulty. You can get it in the harder difficulties, but it does lower your score if you use it. But that's with any special item. But you get into this mode, and you're supposed to hunt down all these monkeys that are all over, like, certain map areas within a certain time limit. And if you do that, then you unlock camo.
Simians of Sony's Ape Escape series.
Yep.
Since the campaign itself is more than a hearty meal, no one much complained at the time, though there was some grumbling about the fixed overhead camera carried over from MGS2. A top-down view worked great for the bases, tankers, and struts of past Metal Gear games, but a lot had changed since the heyday of 8-bit Japanese PCs.
It did not work for Metal Gear Solid 3 because the map areas were a little too big.
The first release of Snake Eater can be aggravating at times, and the cramped perspective doesn't take full advantage of the wide-open jungles of Solinoyarsk. Still, the PS2 original is the rare, unseasoned Snake Eater experience.
That's right.
There's nothing quite like sinking your teeth into the earliest draft of a masterpiece. It doesn't get more authentic than this flawed but foundational text from which all MGS3 is derived.
That was the thing with a lot of PlayStation games, like PlayStation 2 era games, is they were like jank as shit, dude. They were janky, but instead of sitting there complaining about it, you learned how to work with the jank and you mastered it. That's how you became really good at games. You don't get that anymore.
Arrived.
Like, these were back when games, whenever they released, they were done. They didn't sit here and do like 60 updates on the game. It was done.
It only took a few months for Kojima and Konami to start tinkering with the game. Like MGS2 before it, the PAL version of Snake Eater includes a boss rush mode, cutscene theater, and the European extreme difficulty level.
That's right, boys. We beat that on stream. We did it.
Perhaps one of the highest...
It's easy. It's actually really easy. In my opinion, I feel like the European extreme is supposed to be the way the game is played. Because, like, if you get seen, you automatically die. And if you're supposed to be tactical espionage, if you get found out, they're gonna kill you. Like,
ever bestowed upon a continent. The game itself was substantially unaltered, but it would see substantial changes in MGS3 Subsistence.
Spread your wings and fly. God be with you.
The new and improved version of Snake Eater didn't come as a surprise since both prior MGS titles...
Not a lot of people know this, but if you press and hold the square button when you're running, he'll automatically pull up the gun, and then you can just press and release, and he'll shoot and kill, or shoot and stun whoever is in it, because it like has an auto lock-on system.
Were followed by revised expansions. Metal Gear Solid Integral included an entire disc of VR missions, a playable...
Bro, those VR missions, they go forever. I think there's like over 300 missions that are VR. And like each character, like for example, Metal Gear Solid 2, you could play as Pliskin, which is Snake. You can play as Raiden, and then you can play as the Ninja. And they have like almost 300 missions apiece. It's ridiculous. I hope they bring it back.
First-person view, and a bizarre photo shoot mode that has since been reborn in Death Stranding 2. MGS2 Substance was flush with bonus content, including non-canon, largely silly Snake Tales to appease the angry anti-Raiden army. The game itself received lots of subtle refinements, though nothing near the extent of MGS3. With MGS3 Subsistence, the Snake Eater experience is now composed of double discs, with a second DVD bursting with bonus material, as well as...
Oh my god, you remember the fucking card slot? You could have like a card that went to the game. That's crazy.
Reports of the original MSX games, including the first official localization of the magnificent Metal Gear 2. And if that wasn't enough bang for your buck, the so-called Persistence disc also includes a full-fledged online multiplayer mode, Metal Gear Online.
I never played that. From what I understand, they are bringing back Metal Gear Online. I don't think we're gonna touch it, if I'm being honest.
Other MGS games, including Delta, would offer their own spin on the PvP formula, but this is the only release of MGS3 that includes it, though the servers have been dark since 2007. Goodies aside, it's the massive change to gameplay that makes Subsistence such a big deal. It's why the re-release has been the blueprint for all future...
So what he's using, this is what I was talking about earlier. If you get the Raiden's mask and you get their uniform, which I think you start with it, you can get the SIG spray and you can just run around the room and like spray them out. You can knock them out with the SIG spray.
Iterations of the title, and it's a big enough deal.
And you want to do that because they're the only ones that know that you're not a real scientist.
Could plausibly argue that Subsistence is a remake unto it.
Oh, not a lot of people know this.
And it's a big enough deal that one could plausibly...
You see this button here? This triggers an alarm. You could actually walk over and press that. You can just do that. Because why not? You can literally just walk over and press this button and trigger an alarm.
Argue that Subsistence is a remake unto itself. Subsistence incorporates a brand new player-controlled third-person camera system, essentially a prototype borrowed from the then-in-development Metal Gear Solid 4, and a huge improvement in terms of user experience. The game now allows you to peek around corners and scope out your surroundings without the tedium of popping into first person. The old way is still available as an option, though not a very appetizing one.
Yeah, like back then, whenever you bought a game, you had to learn everything. You had to learn everything from scratch. You couldn't just go into a computer and figure it out.
Even if
you
some
had
of
to
the
figure it out
experience
yourself.
is lost in the transition. The new POV makes the game slightly easier, though nowhere near the extent to which Twin Snakes trivialized the halls of Shadow Moses.
What he's doing there, whenever he keeps zooming in and out, so in this game, if you equip and unequip a weapon, if you unequip and then re-equip a weapon, it automatically reloads the bullet. So if you could just sit there and spam the R2 button and then the shoot button, you could pretty much infinitely shoot. You saw me do that quite a bit whenever it came to the Shagohod, and so it was the Shagohod. I was using the rocket launcher. I was just spamming the unequip and re-equip button.
Some cinematic set pieces originally contained bespoke camera shots and movements that go unseen with the new system. They're still there, but you'd have to know about them to switch over beforehand. Finally, the wide-open Soviet jungle loses just a little magic when the camera is unshackled. Without the curated, limited angles of vanilla Snake Eater, it's easier to see past the illusion of a sprawling wilderness and recognize the region for what it actually is, a series of surprisingly small rooms connected by loading...
It's a very, 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 very small roomed game. That's why I feel like the compass is very unnecessary, because you could just explore the maps. They're so small. And I look, I know that the remake is going to be really good, but you can't hide how small the maps are. They're tiny.
Screens. Issues aside, the new camera makes Subsistence a strong candidate for the definitive version of MGS3. It's almost purely additive, and unlike future releases, it's content complete. Our more granular review scale of the era.
So like right there, that guy would have been knocked out, but if you dart him with the MK22 or M2, it's the M2 something, the Z's pop up above his head and he won't remember that he got knocked out. But if you leave the spinning stars and he wakes up, he's going to automatically go into the caution phase.
Like future releases, it's content complete. Our more granular review scale of the era deemed the upgrade worth 2 whole tenths of a point, and many others would agree that it's the better game over the original. But is it the same game?
What do you mean?
The enhanced re-release is a Kojima tradition at this point. Even Death Stranding has a director's cut, although Kojima himself disagrees with that label. He prefers the term Director's Plus. His expansions exist to supplement the original, not cast shade on or replace them, even though in several cases the vanilla versions are no longer commercially available. Subsistence is the smoothest way to play MGS3, and it's probably the camera the game should have shipped with.
Here it comes!
The thing is, it didn't. The first release of Snake Eater remains Kojima's uncompromised vision, and so does Subsistence. It's up to you if you want to endure an aggravating camera in the pursuit of historicity, sans the temptation to switch to the better system.
What is this guy doing?
Subsistence remained the final word on MGS3 for 5 years, until another version brought Snake Eater into a new generation. Well, most of it anyway.
I do, from what I understand, every time they remade the game, like whenever they added the camera and released it as a new version of the game, they updated the graphics ever so slightly. So if it wasn't HD, it would be HD. Yeah, like that.
The Metal Gear Solid HD collection was released in November of 2011.
That was the collection that I had. I ended up getting that, and it was like marked down like crazy. Yeah, I think the whole thing was like $20. It was great.
The same day as Modern Warfare 3, making for one interesting midnight at GameStop. The collection contains updated ports of MGS 2 and 3, plus a brand new big screen version of the PSP exclusive Peace Walker.
Peace Walker is so good. It pains me that I am unable to get the PlayStation 3 to cooperate. Peace Walker definitely falls in the lines of Metal Gear Solid, like it as like the overarching trilogy. In fact, whenever I saw Metal Gear Solid Delta, I saw the hidden film reels that they had. I noticed that it had a scene from Die Hard, and I was like, no way.
Inglorious.
If I'm not mistaken, that's from Peace Walker.
Snake Eater HD is based on Subsistence, incorporating the free camera while offering higher resolution, native 16:9 widescreen support, and 60 frames per second performance. The HD collection was also the first opportunity for Xbox owners to experience MGS3, although that came with a massive caveat. Back in the optimistic early years of the millennium, console manufacturers went kinda crazy with controllers. It was a big period of innovation, leading to the abandonment of wires, built-in rumble, buttons shaped like beans, and controllers modeled after TV remotes and chainsaws. Pressure-sensitive buttons were an evolutionary dead end of this era. In addition to analog sticks and triggers, the DualShock 2, 3, and original Xbox controllers all utilized...
Man, I can't tell you how many of those DualShock 2s that I broke. Just from, like, overuse. The thumbsticks on those DualShock 2s were garbage, dude. Like, oh my god, they were garbage. I remember at one point, the bottom R2 and L2 buttons fell out, and the thumbstick, like, you see how it's got the touchpad on top? So, like, that would move separately. Like, so, like, if this is the touchpad, and this is the stick, whenever I would do, like... It was weird because... Usually whenever you pull the thumbstick to the left, it's supposed to do this, right? Whenever my sticks were so fucked up that whenever I would turn it to do this, it would just do this. The thumbstick pad would stay straight. I don't even know how that happened.
Face buttons.
I had tape holding in the R2 and L2 buttons, and I tell you, like, this thing was makeshift. It was held together with hope.
Responded to pressure, meaning instead of a simple on-off state, they can report how hard they're pushed. Not many games took advantage of this feature, but Kojima, the man who turned the sun itself into a game peripheral, gleefully stitched pressure sensitivity into the very fabric of MGS 2 and 3.
To raise your weapon, lightly press the designated weapon button. Let go to lower your gun without raising the alarm or spending silencer health. Push it all the way in to pull the trigger.
With today's muscle memory, it's kind of jarring to not touch the shoulder buttons while handling an in-game firearm, but it works. MGS3's focus on close quarters combat, or CQC, adds the wrinkle of questioning enemies at the end of Snake's blade, where one slip of the thumb can turn interrogation into exsanguination. The slightest difference of pressure...
If you, that is true, he's right. So whenever you're holding up an enemy, I think it's circle? You walk up behind them and hold them. If you press and hold it, you could snap their neck by accident. You have to be very careful. Like, if you, like, press it just too hard, you can kill somebody by accident. It happens quite a bit. It took me a long time to get used to it.
All that stands between snagging some shiny new dog tags or splattering Gru guts on your camo.
In Metal Gear Solid 2, whenever you held up enemies, you got dog tags.
and losing the precious pigeon rank. The pressure-sensitive controls can be inelegant at times, but they're how the game was meant to be played.
So, like, you see how he's moving and his gun's locked on? So that's that moving feature that I was telling you about where you can press and hold square and you can move. But here's the problem that I had with that feature is if you press and hold square and you release the button, he automatically shoots the guy. So if you have a lethal weapon, which typically you have to have a lethal weapon if you want to hold them up, you don't have to have a lethal weapon to initially hold them up, but if you have them on the ground and the enemy knows that it's a dart gun, they're more likely to attack you.
A uniquely...
Which, by the way, if you hold them up, if you can hold them up if they're standing up, if they're doing this, they'll put their hands up if they're standing up. Typically, I try to grab them and throw them on the ground and hold them up, because if they're standing here, they can knife you and then they run away. But if they're on the ground with their hands behind their head, you can run all over the map and you'll be fine.
Tactile, immersive
Unless you get seen. If you get seen, then they all stand up.
mechanic that might be forever lost to history. The PS3 version of MGS3 HD is the last release of the game to support pressure sensitivity. Starting with the Xbox 360 release of the HD collection, Snake Eater has replaced it with a clumsy but functional scheme that involves clicking sticks, because today's controllers are no longer capable of this level of input. Analog face buttons are expensive, and the general apathy toward them led console manufacturers to dump them like a sack of spoiled tree frogs with the 7th generation. Today's controllers are in their haptics and internal microphone eras, and no one has shown much interest in reviving pressure controls. Not a lot can be done about an industry-wide decision to drop a feature, but it does mean we might never get a chance to experience the game like this again. Even emulation requires original, aging analog hardware to enjoy Snake Eater as it was intended. You really can't know what it's like unless you've actually felt it.
Yeah.
The HD collection is also the first release of MGS3 to remove content from the game. Every single bonus feature from Subsistence is absent, save for the 8-bit Metal Gears. Metal Gear Online is gone, and so is Snake vs. Monkey, a component of Snake Eater since its first printing in 2004. Sony didn't want their Ape Escape on other platforms, and as of Delta, they still don't. But we'll get to Konami's clever compromise soon. The HD collection replaced the lethargic frame rate and hazy PS2 sheen of Subsistence with smooth performance and HD clarity. Some cutscenes don't play super well with widescreen, and some visual effects are lost in translation, but it suits its purpose as a solid, adaptable, almost archival edition of MGS3. It's just a shame that Guy Savage didn't make the cut. In previous releases, after...
So that's it's actually a demo. So the scene where you get locked in the cell after you get caught, you get caught by Colonel Volgan. If you fall asleep or you go to sleep for too long or you wait too long or however you sleep, I don't remember how you sleep. You end up going to sleep and then you wake up in a demo that's a hack and slash. It's kind of fun. It's like towards the end of the game, but it's still really cool.
Snake is captured and imprisoned deep within the fortress Groznygrad. Our now cyclopic hero has the option to call paramedic and save his game. This naturally sparks a discussion about Bram Stoker's Dracula. Snake falls asleep, and when the player loads the save again, they find themselves in a
you have to like
different video game.
Okay, just let me know if you start having nightmares about Dracula.
Yep, here you go. This is the demo. At least I think it was supposed to be a demo.
Without any explanation, we are tossed into a bare-bones, black-and-white
I actually discovered this by accident.
Sequence in control of a hook sword-wielding anime hunk. There's a textured warehouse environment, a horde of zombies with rudimentary AI, and even a basic heating-up mechanic. But the action ends after just a few minutes of mayhem, and Snake Eater returns to your regularly scheduled adventure. Snake's nightmare, known as the Guy Savage sequence, is Kojima's trademark fourth-wall trolling at its finest. It was intended as a teaser for another game the team had been kicking around at the time, using a battle system borrowed from the never-released Zone of the Enders 3. But beginning with the HD collection, Guy Savage has been MIA from MGS3. We don't really know why. Maybe the separate game engine proved too laborious to port. Perhaps Konami doesn't want the hassle of licensing old concepts for a canceled game. For whatever reason, we must endure the seemingly permanent loss
the good news is that he got his hack and slash with Metal Gear Rising
of Guy Savage, along with the related codec banter from your kooky crew of future global authoritarian overlords. Cutting an entirely missable non sequitur fantasy sequence isn't the end of the world, but Snake Eater is less complete without it. Imagine if Psycho Mantis no longer talked your ear off about Suikoden, or MGS4 didn't open with surreal live-action in-universe TV shows. It's these
I remember that. Yeah, so Metal Gear Solid 4, whenever you, when you start the game, and even in certain parts throughout the chapters, you get commercials to, like, this crazy stuff. You get, like, the weirdest, like, live-action commercials.
Full winking moments of weirdness that make Kojima games so special, and it would sincerely be a shame if Guy Savage has joined the likes of PT, Skateboarding Snake, and Sam Bridges' Slammin' Monsties in the catalog of Kojima content that we may never see again. Bridges' Slammin' Savage has joined the likes of PT, Skateboarding Snake, and Sam Bridges' Slammin' Monsties in the catalog of Kojima content.
Yes, in the original version of the game for Death Stranding, it wasn't like this weird energy drink, it was Monster. It was actually Monster energy drink. That's what I was saying whenever we played it.
That we may never see again. The MGS3 HD port was carried forward into the currently available Master Collection, meaning it's the only way to legally purchase and play the original Snake Eater on modern hardware. For that reason alone, we would easily recommend it, especially since the game was actually delisted for a while over rights issues surrounding stock footage. The best version of any game is the one you can actually play, after all, and unlike other Metal Gear titles stuck in limbo, you can own and run this extremely solid version of Snake Eater on pretty much anything. It's not the same game that was released in 2000.
That's what really sucks, is that they haven't touched Metal Gear Solid 4, and it's definitely... It's not like Phantom Pain. It belongs in the Metal Gear Solid franchise. I don't understand why they haven't remastered it.
4, but until Delta, it's all we've got. There's one more iteration of Snake Eater to talk about before we reach the current day, though, and it's one of the most interesting of all.
What is this? This looks awful. They really released this on a handheld? How's it look this bad? You can get it for the PlayStation Vita, and it looked better than this.
Until the Switch, there's never been a straight-up port of the core MGS trilogy to a Nintendo platform. Metal Gear is no stranger to the company, but whenever the series appears on Nintendo hardware, there's usually some sort of twist. The Game Boy Color received an excellent 2D throwback title, the GameCube enjoyed the extremely extra Twin Snakes remake, and Snake himself dukes it out with the Super Smash Bros. On the regular. Even the NES port of the first Metal Gear game was a bespoke, albeit wildly inferior version that spawned a Nintendo-exclusive sequel without Kojima's blessing, prompting him to continue the series purely out of spite. The Nintendo 3DS port of Snake Eater is no exception to this trend.
The map is just automatically up. That is weird. MK22.
Snake Eater 3D isn't simply a portable port of the PS2 title, it's more like a full-fledged remake. Rather than cram the HD edition onto a cartridge, Snake Eater 3D applies the art, sound, and content of MGS3 to the more modern, portable first engine of Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker.
I see that, yeah, because it's got the blue circle whenever you shoot somebody with the dart, and I'd imagine it has a red circle whenever you kill somebody, right?
Differences are subtle, but quite clear
look at
in
that.
your hands. The color scheme and character models are slightly altered, and new button prompts demystify the confusing CQC mechanics. The game takes full advantage of the 3DS's hardware, using the onboard camera to create your own photo camo, while the secondary touchscreen does wonders for MGS3's notoriously convoluted menu system. The real giveaway that Snake Eater 3D is built on the bones of Peace Walker is the new movement and aiming system. Like in Peace Walker and MGS4 before it, Snake can now quickly scamper across the jungle floor via crouch walking, eliminating the need for slow crawling and tedious tiptoeing in the original versions. Gone are the thumb-twisting weapon controls, replaced by a conventional over-the-shoulder third-person aiming system, complete with modern aim with the left trigger, shoot with the right scheme. The easier
but you would be surprised at how useful it is to crouch walk to get to an enemy, because you could do it quietly. If you played the Metal Gear Solid 3 version, like the old school version that doesn't have the new crouch walk system, it's actually kind of hard because you have to barely press. Usually you have to use the D-pad for it, but you would barely press the D-pad button in a direction you wanted to go, and it would usually take a little bit for you to get there, and that's if the enemy doesn't turn around and spot you. But if you move too fast, they'd hear your footprints.
To move while aiming gives Snake far more mobility options during combat. That freedom, combined with the rather exploitable create your own camo feature, on top of the free camera from Subsistence, makes Snake Eater 3D the easiest iteration of MGS3, though it's far from the most pleasant to play. The frame rate is abysmal, the resolution is minuscule, and good luck stopping the Shagohod without a Circle Pad Pro.
That's right. Yeah, because oh god.
The distinct game feel and quality of life improvements can't really make up for these massive downsides. Still, Snake Eater 3D
you couldn't quick equip
is sui generis. There's no other version quite like it, and it's worth experiencing, but mostly as a curiosity, provided you have access to a 3DS with 2 sticks. Besides, most of its better features have been incorporated into our final and most recent incarnation of MGS3, Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater.
Bro, that song is so
Delta actually has a lot in common with Snake Eater 3D. It too grasped the story and gameplay of MGS3 onto a brand new engine, in this case Unreal 5, with the aim of updating but strictly adhering to the classic content. The Peace Walker style controls carry over from the 3DS, including crouch walking and third-person shooting. Delta also borrows from the godlike traversal of Metal Gear Solid 5 for some slick new additions to Snake's moveset. Although this time around, the developers are directly addressing the balance changes by tuning up the enemy difficulty in response. Snake's camouflage is now directly impacted by the environment around him, with a coat of mud or refreshing bloodbath helping Snake stay hidden. The clunky healing system of the original is now enhanced by wounds and scarring that persist throughout the game, as does damage to Snake's drip. The UI has been streamlined, and the graphics are given a gorgeous, if somewhat expected, photorealistic shine. But if you'd prefer a more vintage experience, the original color filters and fixed camera controls are available courtesy of a legacy mode. Like Snake Eater 3D, Delta leaves the essential aspects of the game intact and brings the gameplay up to par with the series' evolution. While the original Snake Eater slithered into our hearts via a 4GB DVD, Delta weighs in at an eye-popping 100 gigabytes of Metal Gear greatness. Most of that can be
Yeah, I know I had to delete a few games in order to download it.
attributed to high-resolution Unreal Engine assets, but Delta is also packed with bonus features both new and surprisingly old. Secret Theater has returned, while the multiplayer Fox Hunt mode serves as a spiritual successor to the dearly missed Metal Gear Online. Even Snake vs. Monkey has reared its siren-toting head once more, though only on the PlayStation and Steam versions. Thankfully,
That's funny.
Xbox players won't be left out this time. In place of Sony's Ape IP, Konami is offering an exclusive Snake vs. Bomberman mode. We're just one bad dream away from having quite possibly the most complete package of MGS3 ever.
What the hell? That looks like Nintendo blocks.
20 years from now, when someone asks which version of MGS3 to play, will the overwhelming consensus be just play Delta? Some fans are relieved that Delta's ambitions are limited to a remaster, sticking to the original design, script, and
I honestly don't think I'd have been mad if they had added more levels into it. Honestly, I would have liked to have seen. I would have liked to see a few things added to Metal Gear Solid Delta. I want more maps, more mobs. I I would like to see a randomizer implemented for Metal Gear Solid 3. So, like, if you walked through one map area, you would end up in a random, like, a different map area altogether. So you never know what you're going to get. And I would like to see enemy randomization where they are, where they could possibly be. You know, don't always put them in the same spot when you go through the map areas.
Hall of Fame voice acting of a singular artistic achievement. Others are disappointed that it's not a full-on reimagining of the scenario a la the Resident Evil remakes or Konami's own Silent Hill 2, bemoaning the dated...
I don't think that if they replaced or remade the story and altered it, I don't think that people would have been okay with that at all. I think they played the safe card.
Environments and annoying interstitial screens that come with...
I feel like if they added a randomizer mode with trophies that show that you beat it, I feel like that would add more replayability. Hell, not even just a randomizer mode. If they added like a style of roguelike to the game itself after you beat the game to where you can like toggle it on and off, I bet that would also add quite a bit
classic
to it.
territory. Can Delta become the definitive form of Snake Eater, or will there still be a place for the more awkward, idiosyncratic vintage versions? If the 2004 release will always be the purest incarnation and Subsistence holds on to its title as the best, how will history look upon Delta? Metal Gear Solid is famous for its complicated story, but ultimately, it's actually quite simple. The conflict at the heart of the series revolves around the will of the boss, the greatest soldier in history who sacrificed everything for her country and left behind a vision of a better world. The warriors who came after her spent their lives fighting and killing each other over their own clashing interpretations of the boss's dream. In the end, it's the humble, doomed clone Solid Snake who finally unlocks the meaning of her will. Freedom. The freedom achieved by respecting the will of others. The freedom to fight for causes you believe in. And the freedom not to fight at all. The truth is, there is no correct way to play Metal Gear Solid 3. There's no real Snake Eater.
He's right, though. You could go through and kill everybody if you wanted. You're just going to get a low score. You can play it however you like. You can go through and get seen by every guard and just run past them and go to the next area. You could do that all you want.
That obviates all the others. We have the liberty to choose the version that speaks to us the most, whether we desire.
Yeah, you can go through and just kill everybody. If that's what you wanted, you can go through guns blazing and just kill everybody.
Nostalgic trip to the days of Shrek 2 and The Simple Life, the jam-packed, fully loaded final form of Hideo Kojima firing on all cylinders, or a fresh and gorgeous, fun and accessible new coat of paint that reminds us just how timeless this game truly is. So what's your preferred version of Snake Eater? Are you a PS2 purist, or do you embrace the widescreen wonder of the HD version? Is anyone willing to go to bat for the Patchy slot machine? Let us know in the comments below, and stay
Hell no.